Hello everyone, welcome to today's customer exclusive webinar where we will be discussing three features in CORE: the Model Assistant, Cross-Project Relationships, and Icon Templates. My name is Katie and I will be your host during today's webinar presented by Bethany Maddox. We're excited to help you maximize these features in your daily use of CORE no matter how long you've been a user. Bethany serves Vitech's customers primarily at the support desk as a customer care specialist. Between support cases, she manages the overall vision of the customer care team at Vitech, developing instructional screencasts on various core and Genesis topics and elements of software documentation. She has often served as a host, writer, and technical manager of countless webinars throughout her tenure at Vitech. Before Bethany gets started, I do have just a few housekeeping items. As with all of our Spotlight webinars, questions will be answered throughout. Please send your questions in as soon as you think of them through the question tab on the webinar control panel. Bethany will answer a few questions after each part of the presentation today, after each feature, and then again at the end of the presentation. The webinar is being recorded today, so if you experience any connection problems during the live presentation, a recording will be available by request within 24 hours of the live version, and we will also be posting it on the My Support area of the Vitech website. If you need any help accessing the recording, you can email Vitech customer support at support@vitechcorp.com. I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Bethany. Welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you, Katie. We have three topics today: Model Assistant, Cross-Project, and Icon Templates. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look. First released in Core 8 and then expanded in Core 9, the Model Assistant offers assistance to the systems engineer. It better highlights the power and integration of our model-based approach. And it does this while reducing some of the framework details required to successfully implement MBSE. This helps you keep your project consistent and well-connected. There are currently 10 options in the Model Assistant, and all are enabled by default. Let's start with the Auto Create Root Functions option. Now, root functions are an essential connector between your logical and physical aspects of the model. This option is going to automate the process of creating a root function for every component that you create, moving this sometimes cumbersome task behind the scenes. As we work through the features of the Model Assistant today, we'll use a model I've created that captures an overview of making coffee, one of my personal favorite topics. Notice that right now there are no elements in my model. We see this evidenced by the white folders instead of tan and no numbers after the classes. I'll first create my top-level system component, and we'll call it Coffee System. There we go. Now look at my project pane. There's now an element in my function class. Let's take a look. It's called _perform coffee system functions. The Model Assistant created this and allocated it to my component, and set the behavior type to integrated root. Now, after you create this, you can edit this element just like any other element in Core. So the behavior type here is integrated root because it's that connector between physical and behavior. And so I wanted to take a minute and show you the other options that are here. We've discussed integrated root. Thread is just a single pass through your system. This would be something that's probably incomplete when you're looking at the system as a whole. Atomic is going to be a leaf level and something that would be more complete in your system. So when we're connecting directly to a component, we want that to be integrated root. Now, just like root functions, root states are an essential connector between logical and physical aspects of the model. The Auto Create Root States capability of the Model Assistant took action when I created a component, creating a state element and linking it to my component through the exhibited by relationship, and setting that type to integrated root as well. Let's take a look. There's my state element, exhibited by my coffee system component with an integrated root type. Now this root state will house the state decomposition for my component. Although logical and physical representations are usually shown separately, they're still view of the same model. Much as you can pick up a cube and rotate it to look at any given face, this piece of the model assistant allows you to look at your model from the perspective of interest. Leveraging the Show Root Function and Root State Views feature, when working in the component class, Core will display the view tabs for the related logical representations. And if I look down here at my tabs, we see activity, sequence, IDEF. We can also see up here at the top that the behavioral view icons are enabled here. Now, if the component you are working on is performed by a function and the behavior type is set to integrated root, you can simply click on the View tab to view it. Now, at this point, we haven't defined any behavior, so we're not seeing much here. If that type is not set to integrated root, you won't be able to view the diagram. Let me show you that. So I'll change that over to atomic and then try to view an activity diagram. And this is simply alerting me. We don't consider this an error message, rather an alert. It's telling me it's not a root, and that's what I need in order to view it. So we'll go ahead and set that back. Now, for the eagle-eyed among you, you may have already noticed the state transition tab and button up at the top are also enabled. And Core displays this as well through this same feature. By enabling this option, you can directly open your logical and physical views, significantly simplifying the navigation of your system model while reinforcing the connected nature of the model itself. Now, as we work through our webinar today, I will have to switch projects many times. It's a bit like the magic of television, only I can't cut this part out. So the next feature we're going to talk about is auto-relate on decomposition. As your model expands to greater levels of detail and to multiple layers of decomposition, it is important that some elements inherit the condition of their parents. With this option enabled, when you add a function to another function's decomposition, Core will automatically allocate the child function to the same component as the parent. I'm saying that slowly because I really have to think through that in order to get my visual. Let's go ahead and look at this on screen. So let's take a look at an activity diagram. And I'll add a few functions here. So I notice I don't have energy. I decide I need more coffee. I make it. I drink it. I feel good. Now let's switch over to the property sheet view of Feel Good. Notice that this function has been allocated to my system component. This is the same component that the top level function is allocated to. So there's the visual look at what's happening here. This is the model assistant at work. All right, we'll switch models again. Now, similar actions are taken for states with the auto-inclusion of decomposition of states feature. So let's look at our top state. And I don't have anything right here, so let's add a few states. Feeling rough, I'm feeling good. Now we'll look at the property sheet view of Feel Good to get a better look at it. The model assistant detected the action of putting it in the decomposition of the parent state, and it automatically set the exhibited by relationship to the component that exhibits the parent, and notice it set the behavior type to atomic. One more switch. For many years, Core has had a filter that allows you to check for functions in your model that have not been allocated to a component. Because a condition of completeness also includes that leaf-level functions are uniquely allocated to a single component, the Model Assistant has an option that will alert you when you are creating a second allocated to relationship. This feature is called Prompt on Multiple Allocation. So let's go to our sequence diagram of our top function. And I'm going to take coffee machine and drop it on make coffee. So make coffee performs coffee machine. And Core is prompting me with that relationship. I'll click OK. Now here's the Model Assistant at work again. This dialog will allow you to replace the current allocation with the new, add the allocation, thus allocating the function to multiple components, or to cancel the new allocation. In this case, we'll just cancel. Now let's take a look at a hierarchy diagram and a sequence diagram. There we go, side by side. Now the next feature is auto-relate on allocation. Here I'm going to create one last function, only this time I'm going to do it from the hierarchy diagram of my system component. So using this All Entities tab, I can view all classes. I'll go to the function class and create my element. Now, anybody who's been in a meeting with me when I get to the bottom of a coffee cup has seen this look, cursing the view of the bottom of the cup. So I've created the function, and now I'll drop it onto my component. And as I do this, watch the sequence diagram on the bottom. There we go. When I allocated my function to a component, the Model Assistant worked for me by inserting the new function in the behavior model of the corresponding root function. This is really helpful to help me be consistent all the time. Okay, let's switch around again. We're going to get a property sheet open and a state diagram open. There we go. Now, a similar capability is available for states, and we call this auto-relate on inclusion. With this feature enabled, when I create the exhibits relationship from a function to a state that is not its root state, Core inserts this state into the decomposition of the component's root state. Again, another mouthful, so let's see this happening. So from our property sheet here, I'm going to add a target of the exhibits relationship. So we'll go here, we'll click New, and I'm ramping up, starting to feel good. Now here's the new state I just created, and notice the behavior type is set to atomic. It's a leaf level. Exhibit coffee system states is my integrated root. Now, if we look over at the state diagram, we can see that ramping up was added to the decomposition of exhibit coffee system states, keeping me consistent. Now, a standard naming convention for interfaces, links, need lines, and transitions is element name 1 / element name 2, reflecting the names of the two elements. With the Auto Maintain Connector Names feature enabled, Core auto-generates and maintains the names of these connector elements. So let's create a connection, and I'll demonstrate this. We're going to create a new transition. And as I do this, you see that it appears to be generically named. I'll just let it do that. And when I click OK, it gets committed to the database, and notice that the name changed to reflect the name of the two elements that it connects. Now let's take a look at the transition property sheet. Now I mentioned not only does Core create this name for you, but it's going to maintain it. So right now the connector name is feelgood/ramping up. Let's change the name of ramping up to waiting for my caffeine buzz. And the transition name updated instantly. Now, one notable benefit of a truly model-based approach is the ability to reason using the model. In order to do this, the model must be complete. So completeness checking is a key capability, and one offered by the Check Completeness on Element Modification feature of the Model Assistant. So let's take a look at where we see those results when we have it enabled. They're here on the Diagnostic tab. And with this feature enabled, every time you modify an element, Core will automatically check the completeness using the completeness rules you specified for your project. And I see those completeness results here. I had errors on level 1 and level 2. Level 3 was my setting. And here's the timestamp, which was about 20 seconds ago. You'll find these completeness check results always updated for you. The Model Assistant is ready for you when you have these features enabled. To view a description of the features, just click on the Model Assistant in the project pane. That's over here. And we see descriptions of each feature as well as the check mark, allowing you a simple method to turn them on and off. Remember that all of the features of the Model Assistant are on by default. Katie, this is a good time to go ahead and pause for questions on the Model Assistant.
All right, thank you. So we've got one question that came in on the Model Assistant. If you have any others, you can definitely put them in through the question tab. Got a question from Matt, and he's asking, so all features are on by default. He wants to know if it's recommended to leave them that way.
Not necessarily. Whether or not you have these features on and their appropriateness may depend where you are in your project life cycle. It may also depend on the way your team works. It's really individual. So I recommend really knowing what these features are and then changing them selectively as it fits your team. That's one of the reasons we made it so easy to flip these on and off, because it may change as your life cycle changes, as your team members change, and we recommend these, obviously, or we wouldn't have turned them on by default. But we recognize that your needs may vary. So it's entirely up to you.
All right, thank you very much. We do not have any other questions, but I will let you know if anything else comes in.
Great. Thank you, Katie. We'll move on to cross-project relationships then. Now, with the Core 9 release came the ability to create relationships between elements in different projects, providing your team great flexibility. And this allows you to partition your models as you see fit. With cross-project relationships, you have more power than ever to tackle challenging problems. These might include enterprise architecture, system of systems, contractor boundaries, systems integration, baselining, project revision, reuse, permission models, all kinds of great reasons to use this. So let's switch projects again, and we'll look at staffing system. Now, the beauty of cross-project relationships is in their simplicity. So let's take a quick look at how you create one. The first key concept is to know that in order to create a relationship between two projects, both projects must be open. So I'll go ahead and open up my target project as well, which in this case is going to be fast food. Now, fast food primarily focuses on the kitchen, cooking burgers. So I'll extend it to address restaurant staffing and handle that in a separate project. Let's get these to run side by side here. There we go. So in my staffing system, you see I have various components: a manager, cashier, fry cook, burger cook, drive-through cashier, and a janitor. This is pretty basic. Now my burger cook is obviously going to cook burgers. I have a cook burgers function in my fast food model. So I can create this relationship any way you create any relationship in CORE. So we'll start here from Burger Cook, and I'll open that property sheet, and we'll state that it performs a function. So I'll just double click on performs. This is a very database-centric way to do it. Now notice the projects drop down. This will be set by default to the current project. When I drop it down, I see everything that is currently open. I'll select fast food, and then CORE will offer me elements from that project. So now I'll select cook burgers, click add, and OK. There it is. Now you can also relate elements from different projects via drag drop. So let's take a look at that. Let's see an EFFBD here. There it is. And I apologize for the partial view. The split screen doesn't give us a lot to work with. Now I want to link the cashier from my staffing system to the assemble order function in fast food. I'll drop cashier from here, just drag it and drop it on. And CORE prompts me with the valid relationships, and I'll click OK. Now you can do this from an element list to a diagram, diagram to diagram, list to list. It's pretty capable. You'll notice when I did this, and I'll drag another one over but not drop it, that when I have my mouse over a place where it's valid to drop, look at how the mouse changes. When it's a not valid place, it's telling me no. Now there are a few indicators that a relationship target exists toward a different project in your model. So let's take a look at that. So we have Burger Cook related. It doesn't look like I completed my relationship of Burger Cook. So let's do that. So if I look at Cook Burgers here, I can see that it's listing the relationship, the class, the element name, and then in brackets it lists the project name. This is a really good indicator that I have a relationship in another project. Also, when you have a project connected, you'll be able to expand this related project branch and see all of the related projects. You can then select the project to view a list of the elements that are related across the projects. And there are some settings you should be aware of. So let's take a look. If I select Edit Connection Settings, we see the options here. First, the project ID is the unique ID that corresponds to a project. This is not a value you would normally edit manually. The repository name is also not something you would normally edit. Now we have these able to be edited because there may be a rare circumstance where this is appropriate. If you think that might be you, give our support team a call and we'll talk it through with you. Now, relationship traversal governs whether the related project is treated as a white box, allowing seamless transversal, or black box, stopping just beyond the project boundary. When you select Follow Through Related Project, the related project is completely open. Your diagrams, your reports, and whatnot are going to act as if these two projects are one, effectively creating a meta project. Now, when you select Stop with Connected Elements, the attributes of the related elements are accessible, but not their relationships. This provides connectivity without exposing the related project details. Now, when you select Hide Connected Elements, related elements are not visible at all. This is useful when your project is a reference for architecture or reuse model and allows you to analyze your subset independent of any connections. Katie, we'll go ahead and pause again for questions.
All right, thank you. So it looks like we just have one question here, and it is from Dave. He wants to know if he can use the feature to vary the permissions for different users.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great scenario to use here in cross-project relationships. I was just on the phone with someone yesterday who said that she really needs to vary the permissions in different parts of her requirements class, and she was asking about using this feature, and that's a great idea. The permissions model is going to interact with this feature exactly as you would expect. If you put permissions on a project, say you put permissions that restrict project B so that you can only read them, when you go to access through project A, course going to enforce that. It's very intuitive in how the permissions model interacts with cross-project. Any other questions?
Great. Not at the time, but again, I will let you know if anything comes in.
Great. Okay, let's change projects one last time. Now let's dig into icon templates. This one is simple but powerful. Now, classical engineering diagrams include basic boxes, lines, and labels. While this is suitable for many analytical tasks, full analysis and broad communications with a diverse set of stakeholders requires something much richer. Icon templates are completely customizable by the project team and allow you to determine how an element is represented on a diagram. This can be basic, the abbreviation or name, or really rich, a number, a name, allocation, a date, anything you want. To maximize the value and enhance communication, icon content can be specified for an entire diagram or a single node. Let's first explore how to apply an icon template to a single node. So let's take a look at an EFFBD here. I'll just select the node I want to change the template for, and then go to the drop-down here above the diagram. This is your icon template selection, and I can choose anything from this list. I'll take name, and notice the change. I can also use one of the multi-select methods to select multiple nodes to change at once. So let's select a handful of item icons, and we'll change these to number name. There we go, and we can see that just those changed. So that's a very specific way to dive in and change just one or two things. Let's get broader now. If I wanted to change everything in this diagram only, I can select Diagram Options, set it to use my local settings, and then it will offer me selections for each of the type of node that's on the diagram. So we're looking at EFFBD, we have functions, we have items, we have resources. And so you can set these here as desired, click OK, and it'll apply. So let's get a little bit broader. What if I wanted to apply the template to all EFFBDs or whatever type you're working on? This is done through project preferences. So click Project, Project Preferences. I'll select my diagram, and then I can set them here. We have the same options we were seeing in diagram options. This is just going to apply to all diagrams of this type in your project. Now, so far I've shown you how to use the icon templates that are included with Core. This is a good set, but you may find that you need something we didn't include. So let's look at making your own. In the project pane, you can click on Icon Templates. And this is the list that is all of the templates currently established. While I could build my own from scratch, I rarely do. I usually find it easier to edit an existing one. So let's do that. I'll first locate the template that's close to what I want. We'll use Name Allocation. Then I can right-click on it and see some options. I'm going to make a copy and then edit it. So we'll click Duplicate, and then we'll change the name. For this sample, I'm just going to reverse the order of display so that it's allocation/name. Now I've changed the name, but I haven't changed the data. So let's take a look over to the right and do that. We see it has an element name, it has a solid line, and then my relationship. So I'm going to use these arrows over here to move some things around. And I've quickly switched it. Of course, automatically going to save this as soon as I click to something else, and now it's committed. So let's examine the options of what you can add to a template. I can simply show the element name. Attribute value allows me to select any attribute to display. Parameters and relationship work similarly. Notice with relationship, I can also display the relationship attribute when appropriate. Class property simply gets me data from the class instead of the element. Separator is a really good one that helps with the layout, and depending on what you're wanting to display, you might want different separators, so we've offered you a few selections here. Many of our templates use the separator to help organize the view. Now, leading text and trailing text simply puts the text that you enter here before or after the data you'd specified above. Now, notice that some of these templates start with multi-object. This is a special kind of icon template. On the N-squared diagram, the item icon nodes can show information for more than one element. Let's take a look at a sample of that. Here we see this node has just one item in it, but this node has 3. This is a special template that applies only to the N-squared diagrams, all of the N-squared. So we have this is the regular N-squared. We have a physical N-squared, and I believe an interface N-squared, and it applies to all of those. Okay, question. Sorry, okay, Katie. Last time for questions.
All right, so we're at our last question, and this is the last part of the webinar. So if you have anything else that you wanted to ask, this is the time to get it in. The question I have right now is from Pat, and wants to know, can I use different templates on one diagram?
Yes, absolutely. Just do it with the method I demonstrated of changing single or just a couple nodes.
All right, thank you very much. And if you do have any more questions that come up as you're trying to use these features and things like that, please feel free to email. You can actually reach our support desk at support@vitechcorp.com, and we'll get those questions answered for you. And in addition, you can also go to our LinkedIn page. You can search for Vitech Corporation. We've got a group there. That's a great place to ask questions, as well as our community forum that you can find on our website at community.vitechcorp.com. And At the conclusion of the webinar today, a survey should open on your screen. We really do appreciate it if you'd take a few minutes and answer that survey. It helps us gear up the next content for you and make sure that our webinars are an enjoyable experience for everybody who's attending. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful day.